Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. It has been a Monday. Oh, you know, growing up, I never really minded going to school. Like, there were a lot of times I didn't love it, but I never really minded, and most of the time I enjoyed it overall. And so it was something I had fun doing a bit. Not like all the it was still school, so it wasn't always the best. And like if I knew there was a test or something, I'd kind of dread it. But for the most part, I didn't mind it. And so I was always kind of a little excited on Monday because I got to go see my friends. And then the first part of the day was always band. And I really enjoyed band. And I usually had good classes for the first part of the day, and so I was always up and ready to go for school. There were maybe a couple times I was late, but like I was almost always on time or early. I actually started going earlier when I started being able to drive myself, but because I was in high school band, the I was just kind of on the leadership team and all the other kind of teams we had going. So I ended up doing a lot of different things around the band hall and just being involved in it. And so I enjoyed just getting there and messing around with my friends before school or doing a little bit of practice or just kind of getting things ready for the day. Now, I wasn't like super early, but school started at I think 8:15, if I remember correctly, and I would get up around 6:30 ish, and then leave for school around 7:30, 7:45, something like that. So I think they're super duper early, but I was always early to school once I could drive. And before I could drive, it depended because in high school, my older sister got her license, and so she drove us both to school, and she didn't really enjoy getting up too early, but we were never late, really. And she was part of the band leadership too, so she also got there a little early sometimes. So that's just kind of what I was used to in school. And then in college, it kind of just depended. I was a little lazier, but I never dreaded it. But back to where this whole conversation got started is I never really had a bad time on Mondays growing up because it was always just getting a start to the week. We never really did too much, and like we never did too much Sunday night either. So I was always pretty well rested and ready to get to it, and then got to see my friends and hang out with them, which I didn't do as much on the weekends. So it was good, and I never really dreaded it. But in starting work, Sundays, or not Sundays, Mondays have never been bad, but I get a little more tired now, especially now that I'm working at a job that is very stressful. I get a lot more tired on Mondays than I really have in the past much. But But my wife uh, had to go through a bit of a rough time in school, and she had to deal with a lot of bullying and just real hard times at school growing up. So she got uh, what people call the Sunday scaries, which is when, especially as a kid, but just when you're dreading going to work or going to school. And so on Sunday evenings, you end up feeling kind of bad and having some kind of just not feeling good on Sunday nights or Monday mornings due to the stress and anxiety about going to work or school the next day. And so that's something that I really hadn't been around much because my family weren't, well, okay, I was going to say we weren't giant nerds, but we were all giant nerds who liked going to school. And I don't know about my sisters all the time, but I know for me, I always kind of looked forward to it because I never, even though I had some negative experiences with certain classes or certain people, I overall enjoyed it. Wasn't really all that afraid or nervous on Sunday nights, and I never really experienced that Sunday scary kind of thing. So I didn't know it was much of a thing until college, actually. And I still didn't experience it firsthand, but I just got around people who kind of talked about it, talked about what it was. But yeah, all that just to say it has been a long Monday. And like I don't get super bent out of whack or upset over Mondays, and they don't cause me too much stress and don't cause me any anxiety. I just been getting tired more on them, and I think it's just because my work's been so stressful that I'm being a little more. It's taken a lot more energy just to go to work, and so on Saturday and Sunday, I feel very energetic because the rest of the week I'm just super low energy afterwards. Oh, but this morning I got up and went for a run to get some exercise in because I was doing good for about 2 months exercising every single day pretty much. And then we went out of town to attend my sister's wedding back in May, at the end of May, and we ended up just like getting so thrown off our schedule that I just didn't get back into running, and then work started getting stressful, and I just started getting more tired, which was partially due to not exercising, partially due to increased stress, and just the whole thing kind of threw me off, and just been kind of off kilter since then because my wife and daughter were getting into a good schedule as well, kind of with getting up, going to bed, and napping, snack, and just all the things you kind of need to have a schedule built around. We were all getting real good at it, but just the wedding happened, and then we uh, found out we were expecting our next baby, and just seems like things kind of kept coming left, right, and center, and everything at work started getting busy. Next thing you know, it's been 3 months almost, and Well, it actually has been 3 months, pretty much. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But around 3 months, and it's just been a non-stop roller coaster. But I think we're starting to get back into the hang of it. So that's good at least. But oh, that's about all the time I have for this portion of the podcast. So I'll pick up again tomorrow and for y'all in about a minute. But that is all for now. Oh, hello and welcome back to whatever part of whatever episode this is. I think it's part 2 of the week. Last week here in August. Which, turn that on. It's come pretty quick. I didn't really realize just how fast this year was going until I realized how much older my daughter was getting. Oh, I was looking at some old pictures and videos yesterday just from the past couple of years, and she is just grown like crazy. She's a little bit a little bit on the thinner side, but she's got a pretty good height to her. But we took her to the doctor today and for her 2-year appointment to get another vaccination, and she was very mad when it happened, but then they gave her a duck, so it was all okay. But yeah, I don't like seeing her all mad and hurt from the shots, but I don't want to see her get any kind of diseases, so I know it's worth it. Which, just to go on a side rant about that, I mean, I don't believe any of those conspiracy theories about the whole vaccines cause autism or anything like that. I think all of those are ridiculous, and the only study ever published on that was torn to shreds in peer review because it was completely biased and was made by a guy trying to sell a book, and pretty much the whole thing was a scam from the beginning, but it caused a bunch of problems. And now there's just people left, right, and center claiming that vaccines cause autism and this and that. But I really think it's ridiculous. So it's not even necessary to say. But even if they did, like, even if there was a chance that you got autism, the chances of getting some kind of terrible disease are just so much more risky, just so much more risky and so ridiculously bad that I don't get why you would ever do it. Because, like, the rate of autism is extremely low. And there is no difference in autism between vaccinated and unvaccinated kids. But either way, the rate is extremely low. And so that's like a one in however many, I don't know exactly, but even if it was a 1 in 100 chance, which I know that it's not a 1 in 100 people have autism, but if it's a 1 in 100 chance that you get autism, or there's a chance that you're, or there's a chance that you get some kind of preventable disease, and like polio, for example, it's a great example because there are kids in the U.S. right now whose parents are not vaccinating them because they're afraid of their kid getting autism, which is not, most of the time, is not debilitating. Most of the time does not cause extreme disability. Like most, if you have a good family who's willing to put in the effort and you're able to get a good doctor, autistic people can have just as good a life as non-autistic people. Like they just have to work at it a little differently. And I have a sister who's autistic and is just as happy in her life, well, as any other person her age at least. And then I have a nephew who was severely autistic to the point he was nonverbal for years, but his family put in a lot of effort and time into helping him and getting him good doctors and a good school, and now he's reading and writing ahead of his grade level. Like, all it takes is effort, and your kids are going to be okay. You're going to have to put a little more effort into raising them than other people would, but they'll be okay. Or you could risk them having polio, which is either going to kill them or leave them paralyzed for the rest of their lives. Just, that seems like such a stupid thing to risk, considering the alternative. Because, like, vaccines don't cause autism, but even if they did, autism is not going to hurt your kid anywhere near as much as any of the diseases that vaccines prevent will. And there is irrefutable evidence that vaccines prevent other diseases, because polio used to kill millions of people, and it is down to the thousands now because of vaccines. And every time a vaccine rolls out for something, people just immediately stop dying from it. Not altogether, because there's still edge cases and you can never fully get rid of some of this stuff, but dropping numbers by 50% is still saving millions of lives. And suddenly people think that autism is worth risking that for their kids, just based on the flimsiest of evidence ever. They would rather trust this super flimsy evidence that says that there's some relation, rather than all the evidence that says there's no relation. And even if there was a relation, they're caring more about not having to deal with putting more effort into their kids' lives than the fact that their kids might die or be permanently disabled by getting some of these diseases. vaccines are safe. It's been proven time and time again that they only help, and the risks are next to nothing. As long as you're not allergic to the ingredients, then you're not going to have an adverse reaction. And autism is not something you should throw your kid's life away over either. That's like just saying that you'd rather your kid be at risk of those diseases than be at risk of autism is like saying if you found out your kid was going to have autism, you'd rather give them some sort of terrible disease. There are countries where they abort their children during pregnancy because they don't want one thing or another that they find out. There was a big issue in Asian countries where there was such a heavy preference for boys that girls were sadly getting aborted. And I don't agree with abortion. So I think that's horrible. But I think that if you'd rather your kid get a disease, if you'd rather not vaccinate your kid against all these diseases and give them that risk, you might as well be saying that you think that autism is so bad that you'd rather your kid be dead. And you'd rather have never had them than have a kid with autism. Which I think if people were to stop and actually think about what they were doing, what they were saying when they said that they weren't vaccinating their kids because they thought that it could give their kids autism, they would realize that they're saying something horrible about any autistic person they know. Or because saying that you'd rather be at risk of all those diseases than you would a single disorder is saying that that disorder is worth than all the other risks that you're just letting happen. And people just need to stop and think that autism's not that bad. Like, they're putting all of these terrible things on autism when if you just are willing to put in the time and the effort, it can get better. And some people have it so bad that it can't get much better and it will be severely debilitating. But most people that have autism, which includes multiple people in my family, are going to be fine and still live a happy, healthy life. But if you start getting all these diseases that are most people are completely immune to, then you're not going to live a happy, healthy life. You're going to be debilitated and really at risk of death. So anybody who doesn't vaccinate their kids, even if they believe that it causes autism, is still really hurting their kids. That's all the time we got for today. Sorry, it was such a bummer. Hello and welcome to part 3 of this week's podcast. Oh, it's halfway through the week and I still have not done last week's episode, but I'll get that. Probably I'm going to try and get that tonight. I would have done it last night, but there was no internet. Yeah, we had the internet go out, which wasn't bad, but I just couldn't do a couple little things. So it was kind of kind of nice because I forget sometimes that it's nice to not always have background noise. My wife and I we both like having some background noise going on. Just because, my wife has a tinnitus, and so she has a constant ringing, and so there's no background noise, and it gets really annoying for her. But for me, it's just I got used to it, and now I just prefer to have some kind of background noise going on all the time, pretty much. But yeah, every now and then it's nice to kind of turn everything off and just sit there and play with some building blocks with my daughter. Yeah, she was wanting to build little towers yesterday, and that was fun, but it was cute, but she kept getting mad because she would accidentally knock them over. Ooh, I'm a little more tired today, but I think that's just because it was a bit of a long day. Oh, yeah, I might cut this one short. I don't know. Oh, I did. I think I don't actually know if I mentioned it yet or not, but I got a. I think I did mention on the last episode, but I got a display case for my miniatures. So now I can have a little more storage room, and I can display the miniatures I think I did the best job on really good. But so I set up all the models I've painted so far in my display case, and it actually filled it up pretty good. But I have uh, quite a few that I have not finished painting yet, so or haven't even started on most of them. I didn't realize I had just so many models until I kind of went through them all again. And yeah, it's a lot, which thankfully most of them were gifts because those models are expensive when you kind of add them up. But yeah, I got a lot of them, and I got a little behind on painting because I was doing pretty good about. Uh, I didn't paint any for a long time. Then I started painting them, and I got like a whole bunch of them done in like a couple of months. And then I just kind of stopped for a little while. And then I did another like big batch, and then stopped again. And I tend to do them in kind of batches, more or less. I've been working on that larger LAAT model for I think almost 2 months now, and it's been fun, but it takes a lot of time. Oh, but yeah, I've been having to hold off on that because I ran out of glue. But then I got I have an entire army of the Republic figures, and I have only painted. Well, two of the clones, phase two clones, were the very first models I tried to paint, and I did not know that you needed to thin paints or use certain paints. I thought that you could just use basic acrylic paint without any modification whatsoever, and it was a bad idea. I got all kinds of lumpy sections on their armor, and the color wasn't right. It just was not good. I covered up most of the detail on them, and by the time I realized it was messed up, I tried to wash it off, and it was too late. So I had to just kind of leave them. And so I painted two squads of phase one clone troopers back when those were part of the game. Now all clone troopers use the same statistics, so uh, it's they're not useless, but they're definitely outdated models now. But yeah, I have two squads of them, and some of their heavy units aren't even usable because it's the longer rifle variants, and those are no longer part of that unit. But I have some Z6 rotary cannons on them that are or rotary blasters that are still part of the game, so that's good. But yeah, I have the rest of my Republic army is completely unpainted because I just messed up real bad on the first two, and then was not the like I think it turned out pretty good with my other two, with the two squads I did of clones. I tried two different methods on them. One where I kind of painted them kind of off white, and one where I did kind of a wash method, and it looked a little bit better, but it's still kind of messy. But I've gotten a lot of experience now from doing all the Imperial minis and the Stormtroopers, because those are the same kind of white armor that's like is slightly not white, of course, but I have learned how to paint those where it's not too difficult and it looks good. And so I think I'm ready to get back into the clone troopers and get them all painted up. But I have like a unit of ARC troopers, a unit of phase two clones, and then I have uh, a bunch of specialist clones from the two different specialist packs that they made, and then I also have uh, Commander Cody, Waxer, and Boyle, and then I have Rex and one of the newer units, uh, an ARF trooper squad, and then I also have uh, Obi-Wan, which I have primed him, but I haven't painted him at all. And then I have, let's see, there was the two packs of four upgrades, essentially, because it's the clone commander and the medic, the comm support, the or radio unit, and then the engineer, and then the specialist, the shotgun trooper, the rocket launcher trooper, and then the captain, phase one captain. Yeah, so I have 8 of them plus 2 kind of leaders in Waxer and Boyle, plus a squad of phase 2, and then the squad of ARC troopers, then 2 ATRTs, and a swamp speeder, and then a regular speeder as well. So a bark speeder. So got a lot of units, but none of them are painted. Hardly. Oh, yeah, that's probably the army that needs the most work. But my rebels are actually all primed, and I've started painting more of them, but they're a little closer to being done. So I might actually work on them first to kind of get the more done ones out of the way so that I don't feel as stagnated rather than starting a whole new project. But that's all the time we got for today, so I will continue this next time. Hello, and welcome to part 4 of this podcast, which is only going to have 4 parts because it's currently Friday. Yesterday, I felt a bit overworked and so I didn't feel like recording, but today I feel but this morning I went to get a drink from my water bottle as I was leaving the house, and an ant stung me right on the lip. And so I have had a full lip all day. And it's kind of getting better now. Not as bad. Maybe I'm just used to it, but I think it's going down. Hopefully it'll be completely gone by tomorrow. This weekend was election day. And I was planning to visit my family. But then also not this morning, but today at lunch, we got the news that we're having a little girl. So we're going to have two baby girls. It's going to be a lot of fun. Exciting. It was a very busy day and very I definitely have a lot to do. I was doing some stuff to implement one of our new customers. I was just like doing things as fast as I could and barely had enough time to get everything done today. In fact, I didn't. And I stayed an extra 10 minutes late because we had to get it all out today. Couldn't really get it all done quite on time, but got it all done pretty much. Boy, but yeah, we're uh yeah, it's just been a crazy week. I felt like I was going to say something else, but it just kind of didn't really have that much else to say about all of it. There's been a lot, and I was kind of tired from it all. Also, I haven't been getting on in the bed on time this week because I've been just staying up, spending some time with my wife and daughter, having more family time. But week before or last week, we kind of didn't have much of that because we spent a lot of time cleaning, kind of just getting things together. But this week we had a good amount of and it's been relaxing. And I've been also finally got some more glue, so I've been working on my miniatures again. Specifically, I glued together most of the parts for the big one I've been working on. Interior design. That's good. Getting some together that are squad Imperial Riot troopers. Security's really good. And that's just really cool looking. But I've been putting it together. I was gonna put it together last night, but I ran out of time because it takes a long time to kind of trim all the pieces and get them all cleaned up and ready to go. And then to also glue them, and then I was also re-gluing the ceramic pumpkin. My wife, she had a little pumpkin looked like a fox. She really liked it, but our daughter got a hold of it and was playing gently with it, and out of nowhere chucked it halfway across the room, and so it kind of shattered. And we had to clean it up, and I saved all these big pieces, put them back together for her. It's a little damaged, but at least in one piece now. Oh, but I'm thinking of getting more done, but then we decided to go out of town for the weekend, which we said we were going to go out of town for Labor Day weekend earlier in the week, but then we thought, both me and my wife thought that we had an extra week to plan it. We both thought that the Labor Day was in 2 weeks, not at the in a week and a half, not on Monday. So we were a little behind on planning, but tonight we're gonna get packed up and ready to go. Head to my parents for the weekend tomorrow, probably. Nice staying with them, but their bed is the bed they have, all the beds they have for guests are nice, but a little less comfortable compared to our bed, in my opinion. And they don't live that far, so stay the night here instead of staying up late to get there. And then not doing much in the morning. Oh, so yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. Hopefully not too busy. Thinking I'm gonna. So I have a bunch of old tubs of Lego that I had from when I was a kid. I had a bunch of Legos, and so I have them in these big tubs and drawers and stuff. Uh, at my parents' house, I've recently kind of started uh, kind of getting more into Legos again, more pixel and have the set rather than used to be I would just play with them so the sets never stick together. What I think is the right way to play with Legos as a kid for sure. But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to get some of these sets back together. But also, I started like seeing the mini figures for Star Wars Legos. Which Star Wars is the majority of what I like right now. Saw that those mini figures are starting to get uh, more valuable. These prices go to dozens of dollars all the way up to over 100 for some. I actually have a minifigure that my wife got me a few years ago. She picked it up for just a couple of bucks at a flea market or something like that. She just knew I liked Star Wars Legos. So she's like, "Yeah, this is a cool one." Picked it up. Come to find out, in the like 4 years since we did that, it has gone up in value to about $90 on average. And that's for the good condition. And the one we got in great condition because the person sold it brand new. I never was like rough with it or anything, but just in a box for the most part. And then I just put it on display a couple weeks ago. And come to find out, it's actually a pretty valuable little figure. But I've seen some of the other ones, and I know I have a couple of them when I was a kid. So they're still at my parents' house, so they're worth like between 20 and $60 for the most part. I didn't have any like crazy rare ones that are like worth hundreds or more, but I've had a few that are not as common anymore. So they're a little more sought after. But yeah, one of them is the original Phase 2 clone troopers. They made a few packs. And, I had, so they made three styles, I think. They made the green one, yellow one, red one, and plain white one. And I had all four. And I actually, he was a red one. So I was getting all those pieces together to get those miniatures. Because those ones are, not all of them are as valuable. The green one specifically came in a statement bag that was not as common. So it is a little more valuable, about $60. But I've been looking for that the last couple times I visit my parents. It's cool to have something that kind of collectible thing. I enjoy it. That's all we have for today. So thanks for listening to this. Here we go.